Well, good evening. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. I appreciate the number of attendees in the audience. Welcome. It's good to see citizens come out. So we'll get this started. Call to order, roll call.
Brooks, Kushner,
Here.
Lund,
Here.
Bentley,
Here.
Holmberg,
Here. Approval of city council minutes.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg.
Yes. Okay, public hearing 5-1.
Oh, adoption of
I'm
agenda.
sorry, adoption of agenda.
Move to adopt.
Kushner,
Yeah.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay, now item 5.1, public hearing on an ordinance approving a conditional use permit for an electrical substation at 300 West Pine Street. Barb?
Mayor and City Council, the item you have in front of you this evening is the second time you've heard of this project. Last year, there was a rezoning request for a portion of the property that's included here at 300 West Pine Street. This is a request for a conditional use permit this evening for the same project for Evergy to construct an electrical substation on the southwest corner of the intersection of Warren Street and Pine Street. They own a portion of the property at this time, and that's included in the legal description of the conditional use permit request, and the city of Warrensburg owns the properties, the 3 properties on the west end of the project that are included in the legal description. This is a request that comes before you because it is a community substation, a community facility. So the table of uses requires a conditional use permit for that land use, which is 18.200 in any zoning district within the city of Warrensburg. This is a light industrial district. And so it does, that is one of our zoning districts in the city. And so it does require the conditional use permit prior to moving forward. It's also a request to allow this portions, not all of, but portions of that structure to be 90 feet in height. The underlying zoning district, the light industrial district, allows structures to be 80 feet in height by right. There's an additional 10 foot has been requested, and that is allowed through a conditional use permit process as well. So we've combined that with your hearing this evening. They've submitted requests for both of those. If the conditional use permit is successful here in front of City Council, then they will move forward with the project to do the replatting and ultimately pulling a building permit within the next, it'll be another year, I would think, before we get to that, but
Okay.
we are on our way if this is approved here within the next several weeks. There is also in the works a Board of Adjustment, a variance request. And so you have in front of you a site plan this evening, as well as an elevation of what the site would look like from the side view. That same site plan was used at a Board of Adjustment hearing on November 29th. And the board at that meeting considered held their hearing, considered the request of the body, and then voted to approve all points of that variance request. And that information is contained in your staff report. So you have the details of that. They're working from the exact same site plan that you're working from. And we hope that they will be able to meet next week and finalize that decision so that decision is final prior to you're doing a second reading of this. So if that happens, then we'll put this on the agenda for 2 weeks for a second reading. If not, then it will go to your February meeting so we can have that other hearing meeting in between.
Okay.
There are representatives from Evergy here this evening. If you have questions for them, this was considered at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week. There was one person who appeared at that meeting who lives in the area at 223 Madison Avenue. She had some questions about the project sidewalks just along, whether or not there'd be a sidewalk along Pine Street. And yes, that is a requirement and that will happen. And what would happen to the existing substation that's on the northwest corner of the intersection. And at that meeting, Evergy indicated that would be dismantled and taken down, removed from the site when this one is brought online. Staff has recommended approval, and those reasons are in your staff report, as well at the commission meeting last week. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. be happy to answer any questions about the site plan or the elevations or any of the information in the staff report.
Yeah. Since this portion is public hearing, is anybody in the audience, did anybody show up to speak on this particular item on Evergy? Okay. The folks from Evergy, do you want to give us a little bit of why this is a benefit to the community? Hey, Justin.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Justin Harris. I'm the attorney for Evergy on this project. I also have with me Mark Rothmeyer, who's a senior project manager with Evergy, and Michael Blake, project engineer, civil engineer with Burns and McDonald, who are working on this project. So this is a replacement of the existing substation there on Pine Street to the north. That equipment is, I think, 70+ years old. And so they're going to do a new modern substation here to basically increase the reliability of power delivery to our community here. This site in particular is a natural fit because not only is it an industrial district, but it's also being across the street from the existing substation. It's the terminus of all the high voltage transmission lines that come into town and serve the community. So if, for instance, if we couldn't put it in this area and had to move it to some other area of town, then all the high voltage transmission lines around town have to be relocated, which could impact people's yards and businesses and things like that. So this is kind of the natural spot. Evergy already owned part of this property, and the city owns the rest of the property. And so jointly here, we're applying for a conditional use permit for the project. If you have more technical questions, either Mark or Michael can answer those for you.
I don't.
How long would it take for this to be up and running and then the other substation to be dismantled?
Mark, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, Mark Rothmeyer with Evergy, Senior Project Manager. So the plan on this substation right now, we're focusing on getting the property acquired this year. We're going to roll into design material procurement in 2023. The bulk of the planning for the construction work will happen at the end of 23 into 2024. The goal of the in-service date for this substation and the removal of the existing sub at what we call Warrensburg plant is to be by 2025. So it's a multi-year process.
Right.
Thank you for taking time to come in and give your evening to answer questions. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. We'll go on to item 6, the first reading only. It's an ordinance. First reading of an ordinance approving conditional use permit for an electrical substation at 300 West Pine Street. Okay. We're going to go down to 6.2. First reading of an ordinance authorizing payment to supplement existing contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated for grant funding services in the amount of $20,000 presented by Danielle Dillon.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Back in April of 2021, there was a notice of funding opportunity for the Rebuilding America's Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant opportunity. The city of Warrensburg felt that this was a great chance for us to go for some federal dollars to help us fund replacing the bridge over Highway 50 on McGuire Street. We entered into a contract with HDR Engineering Incorporated for approximately $62,000 to help us with that grant writing process. One of the things that they were looking at, several of the things they were looking at, the grant was going to be evaluated on is safety, environmental sustainability, quality of life, economic competitiveness, state of good repair, innovation, and partnership. HDR had experience writing these types of grant applications, and so we were using them for their grant writing services. We were not awarded the raised grant. However, a lot of the concept drawings, the engineer's estimate of construction costs, traffic and safety models performed will all be applicable in future grant applications. So to meet that grant criteria and avoid spending city funds on areas outside of the city-owned right-of-way, the scope of the project grew considerably. There was a lot of time spent with several iterations of traffic models with added lanes, changing the geometry of that intersection, as well as other modeling inputs. If you will recall, we talked a lot about that benefit cost analysis ratio and trying to get that as close to 1 as we possibly could, meaning that the benefits were equal to the cost, if not greater than what we were putting into this project. So we did a lot of reiterations, looking at lots of different ways to help with the stormwater, to improve equity in our community, connecting populations that are lower income to resources within our community, trying to connect our community to parks. So we spent a lot of time. It was a lot of extra stuff outside of that interchange of just the bridge over Highway 50. In November, HDR submitted a request for a contract supplement of $51,000. Staff met with HDR to review the contract supplement request. We acknowledge significant additional time was spent. So we have, and that also that these materials that they provided for us will help us continue to try to go for funds for this project. We recognize that, and staff and HDR negotiated a contract supplement of $20,000. That would bring the total grant writing services to about $83,000. This is a first reading only, but I will stand for any questions.
Questions, me? All right. Item 6.3, first reading of an ordinance amending fiscal year 2022 budget. Ordinance 5679 concerning adoption of fiscal year. Marcel?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you this evening is the first budget amendment. I wish I could say it would be the only budget amendment, but I'm sure it won't be, just because of the ARPA money. But before you have 4 different exhibits that outline what this budget amendment entails. The first one being Exhibit A is projects that were began or products that were ordered prior to fiscal year in 2021. So it was before September 30th. And those items were not paid for, were not received, or were not anticipated to be received until 2022. So our financial system allows us to what we call encumber that money. So those purchase orders exist, they maintain, and as they're paid out in fiscal year 22 and after, if they're a multi-year project, the system will allow that budget amendment to take place. So there's a comprehensive piece of like $253,852.80 that outline each of those purchase orders that were established in 21, budgeted in 21, was not expended in 21, so those funds roll into 22. Exhibit B is the Warrensburg Convention and Visitors Bureau, and that budget was adopted by the Bureau's board, and it comes before council just as transparency and information to make you aware that those monies, because those monies flow through us as we collect the lodging tax and transfer it to the WCVB. Exhibit C is the American Rescue Plan Act monies, and that is ongoing money. If you recall, we received $2,060,029 at the end of fiscal year 21. That same amount of money is anticipated to be received at the end of fiscal year 22 because the timelines are supposed to be about the same. So that revenue increase is in that fund, and we have identified the blower project that was adopted by council to be paid out of those monies, as well as some of the phone system upgrades to be paid out of that. And as I said, those, as we identify projects and expend that money, then there'll be further budget amendments specific to that fund that will come before you to approve, either as part of those projects or as a total sum towards the end of the year or as we go forward. The last one, Exhibit D, is various budget amendments that were requested by the departments where they've identified issues that were either missed or that have come about in the first quarter of fiscal year 22. And so each one of those worksheets that are a part of Exhibit D outlines each one of those requests from the department directors. Some of that is paid for out of the PTO money that was not expended and budgeted for, and others is grant revenues that have been received, or monies that we anticipate that will have received or have savings across the board for operations going forward. This is first reading, so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do what? No, I'm about to do it.
Okay.
All right, so item 6.4, first reading of an ordinance authorized city manager and city clerk to enter a memorandum of understanding with the 509th Bomb Wing for support services. Chief?
So this was started under Chief Lockhart. They came in agreement with the MOU presented to the city manager. And there's a letter in the MOU from the 509th Bomb Wing for the support services. If anything happened, then they would call for us and we just have the MOU of understanding reference to it. So,
Okay.
any questions?
All right. Thank you. All right, we're going on to item 7, second reading of an ordinance. On 7.1, I know that at least a couple council members want to speak on that. So before we call for a motion, Tarl, do you have?
Yeah, just in thinking about this, I'm weighing several different factors such as capitalism, economic growth, preservation of current status. And so I just want to say that it's, I put a lot of thought into this. Don't really have any questions right now. I just wanted to go on record as saying that I did take a lot of time to think about this and the decision I'm going to make. So.
I'll add to, because my vote will be to not approve. Part of that comes from in a different project that I had in a whole different field about uplifting a neighborhood, pulled several sets of data from the city staff. And this was not me as mayor. I want to make that clear. This was me as Director Johnson County United Way. And as I looked through all the data, I was a bit overwhelmed and shocked with the number of, we couldn't find a block to actually do this uplift that we wanted to donate to, the donors donate to, because of the different rental units. And the biggest problem properties were in fact rental. And so over the past few months of thinking through planning and zoning and seeing neighborhoods and responding to folks, I think that we need to take a stronger look at when do we change. I think Warrensburg's a beautiful place, but I actually think some of the volume of family units that turn into rentals, can be a problem for the future. So with that said, that's just comments for my other council members. Anything else? Or is there anybody in the audience that didn't present last time that wants to speak on this? I've received a couple emails, I think other council members and stuff, and I don't want to repeat, but if there's any fresh. Okay. With that said, second reading of an ordinance rezoning property at 618 West Clark Street from R1 to R2. So. Call for a vote.
Oh, anybody gonna move it?
No, it's second reading.
Okay. All right.
Procedurally, you would have someone move to adopt just to place it on the floor for final vote.
My apology.
Move to approve.
Kushner?
No.
Oh, I need to read it. Correct.
He's ready.
You read it? Okay. All right. Kushner,
No.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
No.
Holmberg,
No. Procedurally though, since planning and zoning approved this, do we need 3 or 4? Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Okay. Item 7.2, second reading of an ordinance amending section 27-200 of the Code of City Ordinances regarding land use 7.200. Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay, item 7.3, second reading of an ordinance annexing a portion of the property at 703 North Devasia Road into the city of Warrensburg. Call for motion.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay. 7.4, second reading of an ordinance to establish an L1 zoning district for a portion of property located at 703 North Devasia Road.
Move to approve.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. All right, item 7.5, second reading of an ordinance rezoning a portion of the property at 703 North Devasia Road from R1 to L1 district.
Move to approve. Sorry.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay, on to item 8, first and second reading of the ordinance. So
Need to amend this.
Okay.
I'm not sure when to say that.
Every reading.
Okay.
all right. So first, second reading of an ordinance declaring the results of the canvass statements of candidacy and establishing a general election to be held on April 5th, 2022.
We need to amend this to remove Mr. Kit Lindsay's name and his request from candidacy.
Is that your motion?
Yes, I'm sorry. Move to remove Kit Lindsay from,
So this vote is only to amend the bill, and then you would have your two votes on the bill as amended. Okay.
Kushner,
yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg,
Yes. Okay, so now somebody would move said bill.
Move to pass said ordinance to move to pass said amended ordinance to second reading by title.
Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg.
Yes. Now
Okay.
you read it.
All right. An ordinance declaring the results of the canvass of statements of candidacy and establishing a general election to be held on April 5th, 2022. This is for adoption or rejection. Kushner,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg.
Yes. Okay, appearances to council not listed on the agenda. I know that we have a list of folks. I do know that Dwayne Johnson
Jackson.
had contacted me, and so he's gonna come first. Also, just for procedure, this is not a specific public hearing nor an item on the agenda, so council's role at this point will be to listen, ask questions, discern. I'll do a kind of a final summary, but there will be no specific official action. We're just here to listen and converse.
All right, Mayor, Councilman, my name is Dwayne Jackson. I live at 1211 East Hale Lake Road here in Warrensburg. And I'm the owner of Jaeger Tire, have been for the last 17 years. You know, as a business owner, a lot of things affect my business. The customer base, if I don't advertise right, there's a lot of things that affect whatever we do in our business world. We have put a lot of work in downtown. We put a lot of work in the city. There's people in this room, members of the Main Street, members of the Chamber of Commerce, both those organizations, plus the city itself. Several years ago, you all gave a grant for a facial appearance of downtown. A lot of people took advantage of that. And we want our downtown to be presentable. We want our town downtown to be a premier of all downtowns. We want people, when they drive through our downtown, to say, what a neat community. My little brother visited me and he said, it reminds me of Bedford Falls. And the show that Jimmy Stewart played in. You all remember that? I can't remember the name of the show.
It's a Wonderful Life.
There you go. It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life. Anyway, we have another issue that now is faced the business community. It's not only affecting businesses, it's affecting the people in our community, and it's our homeless situation. We have people gathering downtown on the benches. We have people walking our streets, distributing trash. Those homeless people may or may not be staying at the home. They use profanity. They use racial slurs. They argue and they fight amongst themselves. They congregate at the little benches across from Warrensburg Main Street, right next to Ivory and Lace. She has a little daughter that's probably about 3 years old, 4 years old. She has to listen to this garbage. People that visit our community have to listen to this garbage. It has frightened a lot of people. We need to do something about it. I want to address the council. I wanted all of you to hear this. I wanted the staff to hear this. I wanted the people and the business community to hear this, because it's not just one person's responsibility in this room. It's all of our responsibility. If we want to take our, I guess, hand back in making downtown back to where it was, more professional looking business place. Those benches are not designed for the homeless together or people together and talk and drink and cuss and those racial slurs. Those benches are designed for people like me who don't want to walk a long distance and their wife to shop. And we can sit, and if people come by, we say, hey, they're not designed for those kind of things like they're being designed for now. I don't want Main Street to take those benches out. I don't think anybody else wants Main Street to take those benches out, but that's their next step. And it's not just affecting the downtown area. It's even grown farther. One of my guys that works for me said he was approached at the gas station Saturday for money. One of my guys said he was approached at a place of business, at a pizza place, wanting to know if he had $1 and a cigarette. They come and beat on our windows and do this. They want to get a smoke. So it's not just affected downtown now, it's growing bigger. And if we don't do something about it, it's going to get worse, not better. My idea was take those people, much like we do model after a business that is closed, a factory that's closed, and they take those people that want to be retrained and they put them in a career center and they're retrained. Why can't we do something like that? If those people want a job, or if they want to better themselves in life, then maybe we need to have some kind of training program for the homeless. The few people that are causing the issues are not the people that need the most help. There's a lot of homeless people do need help. We're not against the homeless people by no means. We just want to help our community grow. We want it to look nice and neat. We want to expand our businesses. We want to increase our industry, and we want to make Warrensburg a better place to live. Bottom line, we just want it to be a great place to live for our grandkids, our kids, our grandkids. Some of you had kids. I have grandkids, and we want to have a nice place for our grandkids to grow up. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Rachel Gifford.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. The reason I came forward is there is a group here in Warrensburg called We the People, and we meet monthly. And what we're trying to do is to bring forward information to the community that they may not be aware of. And there's an awfully lot of really good information on the city council webpage, but an awfully lot of people don't really even know about that. So that's even one of the things that we're trying to help people become more aware of in the community. I became aware of the homeless situation about, I don't know, I guess it was about 2 months ago, because I work out at the community center. And there was kind of an invasion of people in the family center, basically where moms and kids go to get dressed and go for swim lessons and that kind of thing. Maybe invasion's too big of a word, but let me come up with it. Anyway, there were a lot of new faces. And there was one experience that a friend of mine had who, and again, I have tried to get very first person information from people. And she said she was sitting there and she could hear something going on in the shower beside her. And she was trying to figure out what was going on. And there were kind of lots of loud noises, et cetera, et cetera. And suddenly she figured out that the guy in the shower was masturbating. And so she put her clothes on as quick as she could and she got out of there. There are lots of new faces that kind of hang out in the lobby at the community center as well, and kind of and have bedrolls laid out and that sort of thing. Not real pleasant to walk past. Can I do it? Yes. Do I feel deterred from going to the community center because of that? Yes, I do. So I became aware of that and I thought, okay, let me find out firsthand what's really going on downtown, because I've been hearing a lot of rumors and I really hate rumors. So I just kind of walked up and down Holden Street and asked different people, what experiences have you had? And so came up with literally a very two pages of incident reports of things that were happening that was unpleasant for their business and deterring customers from their business. So I thought, okay, let me talk to the people in town who actually provide services for the homeless and find out what kinds of services are provided in terms of food, shelter, clothing, et cetera, and see what their capacity is and see if I can get a feel for, are we at capacity? Are we above capacity? Are we still needing to help people? So all of that being said, what we're going to do at our meeting on the 17th, so next Monday, is to further the discussion that started here tonight with the community and just let people know, these are the incidents, these are how we can serve and how we can help. And try to come up with ideas like Dwayne just mentioned as a voucher system, or what are solutions to the problem, because complaining about something doesn't change it. The idea is, what are solutions, and then how can we work with the community, with the city council, to try to bring forward some real solutions to what's going on. So I wanted to say that so that all of the city council members know that the meeting's happening and are more than welcome to come. And please provide any answers or any solutions that you have that you can bring and talk about that could be happening. We could also work with the Johnson County commissioners, possibly. Maybe they have some ideas. But anyway, bottom line is to try to get as many people, you can never please all the people all the time, but to try to get as many people in the know and bringing solutions so that we can do whatever we possibly can do. So wanted to let you know about that. A lot of you do know about it, and several of you probably are already planning to attend. So I'll let that down so it doesn't fall. Anyway, that's what I had. Do you have any questions of me? Okay, all right, thanks.
All right. Audrey Murphy, please.
Hello, Mayor and Council. My name is Audrey Murphy, and I manage the SC Fuel Store downtown. What we do is basically provide meals to new families. So I have a lot of people that come in, but for a majority of the day, I am and do work by myself. I've had a few times that I've had people come in the store and just I'm very positive they're not of sound mind, and they ramble and they're very frightening to have. But luckily I'm behind a counter, so I'm not like super close to them or super near to them. But I did have a customer come in, or a man come in one time, and he sat in my store for a few hours. It was very frightening. He was just waiting for a ride, and I really wanted to help this man, and so I let him sit in there, and it drove some of my customers away, which was a little disheartening, but eventually got his ride. And the next day he went over to Blackwater Barber Co., which is right next to me, and he used the bathroom on her floor, and she had to deal with that, and she was not very happy about it. So, I mean, it's frightening, but I mean, I wish there was something we could do to help.
Thank you. If I'm reading this right, Nicole Huffey, I apologize if I said it wrong.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Nicole Hufty. I've been a member of the community for 16 years now. My husband's military that brought us here. I have been an owner of a business downtown Warrensburg for 12 years. I currently own both of my properties that I have in downtown Warrensburg. My husband and I 2 years ago decided to sell our home and live above our business because we definitely wanted to invest in our buildings downtown. I live downtown, so it's very much apparent. It's like my front yard when I come downtown or when I walk downstairs to go to work. I typically have strangers across the street, watch me go to the gym, go to work every single day. They're constantly there. And so I just, owning a business, I've had customers get harassed coming to and from my business. I employ 10 employees, and the average age of my employees is 21 years old. And so my girls have come to me, called me multiple nights. I've had to walk them to their cars. My husband's had to walk them to their cars. I'm just grateful that I live above my business, so I'm able to provide safety for them. We've had to call the police multiple times for people outside of our business for our safety. We did not feel safe coming to and from work. These are all incidences. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more tonight. All I ask of you guys is, for me personally, my business, my safety of my employees, my customers are my top concern tonight. We've had some pretty close incidences that have happened, and I know that we've had to call the police multiple times, and I know a lot of times our hands are tied, your guys' hands are tied. I think where it really comes down to, I've thought of this a lot, and I think their responsibility, I think we need to put some responsibility on some of the shelters that we have, because it's not just enough to provide them a home and food for them to eat. Some of these individuals have mental health issues. They also have drug issues. And so I love that they are trying to provide, a home for them in the evenings and food for them. But at the same time, there's a lot more that goes along to taking care of these individuals. And so I just ask that you guys really put some long, hard thought into what we can do. And as a community, we're not letting this be just your responsibility. We're all here trying to remedy this situation and try to be part of the solution, to try to help this community survive this. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Okay. Rachel Mifflin.
Hello, everybody. I own two different businesses downtown. I own Ivory and Lace Bridal Boutique, and I co-own MKT Clothing Co. I've always wanted to be in downtown. I've never wanted to leave downtown. Whenever I decided to open my business, I knew that downtown Warrensburg was where I wanted to be. I was on Pine Street for about 5 years until I purchased my building on Holden Street, right on the main drag. Could not be happier with being on Holden Street. I love everything about our downtown, and I put thousands upon thousands of dollars into making my business look nice, have a good storefront, all that jazz for it. Now I've just done it for a second building. The majority of my clients at the bridal shop are actually from out of town. So most girls travel 30 minutes to 2 hours to come to my shop at my store, and it is very much a destination shop. When those girls come, they spend 2 hours at my store. They then go eat at Heroes or Cafe Blackadder, and then they go shop at the local boutiques. They spend all day in downtown. In the last 6 months to a year, issues with the homeless people have become so transparent and so overwhelming that my brides that live in downtown Kansas City have felt too uncomfortable to get out of their vehicles when they pull up in front of my store on Holden Street. I just really want that to sink in, that people who live in downtown KC, where there, I would think, are a lot more homeless people, do not want to get out and walk our streets, because at my building, whatever reason, that bench is like the Mecca bench, and it's right next to my store. It is constantly overflowing with liquor bottles and trash and sleeping bags and other not so great stuff and paraphernalia that they just leave over there. I understand that the trash can only be picked up every so often. It's not my job to go clean up after their messes, but they leave it there, and again, looks poorly on my business. And I just, like Nicole, I employ all young girls. My clientele at both stores are women, and the majority of the homeless population are males. And not that we're saying anything, feminism, whatever, but they just make people more uncomfortable. They do. It is a more disturbing presence when you drive up to a bridal gown shop and there are 7 homeless men just sitting on the benches, cussing and yelling, and they are standing within 2 feet of the door to my business. I love downtown. I truly, truly do. And it is not, in the last 8 years, I've owned my business. And I like to think that we've brought a lot of good to downtown. And I know a lot of other people who own businesses in downtown. I've never wanted to leave until the past 3 months, because would you want to see that every day? On Tuesday, my daughter was sick and I had to run her into the shop. We just had to answer phone calls or whatever. We went into my store, came out, locked the door. One of the homeless people saw us leave the store. I parked right in front because we were in and out in like 10 minutes. They then started shaking the door to my store after they saw that I closed it up. I am then getting my daughter in the backseat of my vehicle. She's 4. The homeless person comes over to my car and starts smacking the window of my car, and I have to lock myself in the backseat with my 4-year-old on a 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Anyway, it's really bad. And I don't know how else to say that. I don't want my business to be downtown and for that to be how my business is represented. So anyway, sorry, I wasn't going to get emotional, but if you don't work downtown every day, if you're not seeing it every day, I just don't think you understand the gravity of the situation for people like us that are downtown, just trying to help our community. So please, we will help. We will do whatever we need to do. It's just not okay at this point. So thank you.
Thank you. Linda Curtis.
My name is Linda Curtis. I'm a retired licensed professional counselor. On November 30th, 2021, 3 o'clock, I had an appointment at Salon Vogue downtown. Near the end of my appointment, yelling could be heard across the street from a group of people. Do I need to? At about 3:35, I left the salon to go to my car, which was parked in front of Muddy Creek Barbecue. I immediately became frightened because there was so much yelling coming from a group of about 10 people gathered across the street near the bench. That was the most I had seen at one time. 2 men were very angry, yelling at one another, waving their arms and fists at one another, acting like they were going to shove each other. The other people were yelling and shaking fists like they were on 2 sides, one against the other. I ran to my car and could not get in. My door would not unlock. I tried to quickly find my fob in my purse with no success. I ran back to Salon Vogue because I was afraid to stand by my car and search. I sat in front of the window watching the angry exchanges and yelling while I searched in my messy purse for my fob. While sitting there, a young woman with a backpack passed the salon. She was watching the angry exchange across the street, walking very fast. I found my fob and left the shop, pardon me, heading for my car. I looked to see if the young lady was okay. She was already past the railroad tracks, away from the angry exchange. As I ran to my car, two men started to cross the street toward me. With holding my fob by the door lock, it did unlock. I jumped in my car, locked the door, and sat there very frightened for a moment as the two men passed my car. No one offered to hurt me. No one said anything to me. It was just very frightening to be on the edge of such anger and yelling. This seemed like a very volatile situation that thankfully did not result in a fist fight or shoving. As far as I could see, the young lady with the backpack and I were the only individuals besides the angry group on the bench who were on the street at that time. I drove immediately to Jaggers, and Dwayne confirmed that I needed a new fob battery. I wanted to tell him what had happened, someone who owned a business downtown, someone I knew and trusted. He was very busy with several people in the waiting area, so I did later call him and shared with him this information. And then as a result of that, I also talked with Scott Holmberg. When I had an appointment next with Nicole at Salon Vogue, a person I also know and trust, I told her what had happened after my appointment on November 30th. She too was aware of the angry exchange outside that day, as well as on previous occasions. I am downtown in the same area at least 2 times weekly and have had this routine for about 5 years. Usually I am in this area in the morning hours. I have encountered 1 to 4 people different times sitting in or near the bench or walking on the sidewalk. Occasionally, I have been asked for money or for a can opener. One time I did give one of the men some money while standing in front of Salon Vogue. After he asked me to give him money, I told him I was in a hurry for an appointment. Then I asked another person downtown if I should give him the money, someone who might know this person. They said it was okay. I gave him $5 when I left the shop. He was very kind. I've never seen him again. One man was very happy that he'd been given a can of food and asked if I had a can opener. I told him I'd try to find one for him. Before I could go into a store, 2 men came out of Blackadder and opened the can for him. He smiled and we waved. My heart goes out to people in need, but the angry, volatile situation I encountered is frightening. And I've worked with a lot of people who have a lot of problems. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list is Jill first.
Mayor and council, I just wanted to come up as a representative of Warrensburg Main Street just to thank all of our business owners that have come down tonight to express their concern over this issue. I know I've talked to several of this council members about this specific issue, and we've had a lot of different meetings over this past year. But I think that what you're hearing tonight is firsthand accounts of how the situation is starting to escalate. And it's not people sitting on benches anymore. It's people attacking customers. I've had an additional 2 businesses that have written letters tonight that I'll share with you of specific incidences, everything from destroying property to attacking their customers to attacking their employees. And I mean, like throwing things at them, verbally accosting them, coming into their business, shouting, yelling, screaming. So it's not just people sitting on benches anymore. It's starting to escalate. And I think that's where we're starting to see some uneasiness. We, of course, are not against the homeless population, or we don't want just to see them all go away or disappear. We know these people need help, that they are in this situation for various reasons, and there's lots of reasons people are homeless. but we do see significant numbers. And I think Rachel said it perfectly. If you are not working downtown, if you are not downtown every single day, you're not noticing this. You're not seeing this impact that we're seeing. You're not hearing things like, I'm afraid to go downtown anymore. I don't want to start a business downtown because of the homeless population. So I just wanted to just say that Main Street supports all of these people that have come down. We're glad that they had the opportunity to present to you, and we hope that we can find some solutions. I will leave these for you guys to look at as well.
That's the end of the folks who signed up. Are there any other folks that want to offer comment?
Good evening. I'm Ann Pappas. I own Laser Quick Printing in downtown Warrensburg. I've worked down there 21 years. When I came to college here, this town was great because you could walk around and people stopped and helped and asked things. The uniqueness of my building is I don't have a back door. My choice with my employees is I've had to put a baseball bat behind my counter because our choice is to confront them to get out of the building or jump out of a window. One of my employees called me in hysterics because a man reached to grab her chest. Luckily, I was across the street at Heroes. I could come over and deal with it. Luckily, I'm a business owner that's had training in knowing how to do this, but most of the business owners downtown and their employees don't know how to deal with it. It's an issue. Everybody's heard that, but it's been an issue for more than a year. Probably 3 years ago, we had to change all of our Wi-Fi passwords because if we had open Wi-Fi for our customers to use, the homeless sat outside with their smartphones and used our Wi-Fi all day and took our bandwidth. My daughter is 18 years old, works at Heroes. She makes sure that she has her keys between her fingers when she parks in the parking lot between there and to walk into the store at 10 o'clock in the morning. Once again, she's a kid who's been trained. We shouldn't have to train our 18-year-old daughters to know to have their keys sticking in between their fingers to walk 15 steps so they can get to work on time. Because she has to park behind all of those kids. She's had to call her dad to come watch, make sure she gets to her from her car to work. It's bad. We're not gonna have anything left if something isn't done. At what point in time, we all have civil rights, but what point in time are you gonna take care of the business owners who are collecting tax dollars to keep the city going? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I'm Kathy Baldridge. I own Photo Gym. I know many of you, done work for you, and I'm grateful for your business. As you may or may not know, my business was located downtown for the first several years that we were open. We moved to McGuire Street about a year and a half ago, and that decision was based largely in part because of these problems, which at the time that we were there, I think they were not nearly as bad as they are now, based on what I see just being downtown. I will tell you, even at that time, we had a member of the homeless population who came into our business probably 4 times, maybe 5, because he wanted to use my phone to report that he would like to hurt himself. And so the police department was called to come and help this gentleman. The last time, or the time before last that he called, because I always allowed him to use my phone, of course, the police officer that was working that case at the time said, you know, this is difficult. We don't really have any resources. We don't have anything we can do with this person. And so the next time he came in, I said, well, you know, do you want to sit down? Do you want to have a cup of coffee? Let's just visit for a minute. I'm trying to take the load off the police department because he obviously just wants a ride in the ambulance. So then he tells me that he wants to hurt someone else. So I call the police come and get him, but that's just one person. I had another young man who came to my window late at night while I was working there and grabbed his genitals and did a very unattractive dance for me. And luckily, my husband was in the back, and I asked him to come forward. The gentleman ran off down the street. I use the word gentleman very loosely. He was not much of a gentleman, and it was intimidating and it was frightening. You know, if I had been there by myself, I would have been very afraid. He was a large man. We had another young man, different one, who came into our store, and I happen to know the store that I currently occupy used to have a business across the street. They experienced the same thing with this gentleman who came in and was very intimidating to not just me, but also my employees, my customers. And that business left downtown to go where I currently reside. And they've since gone out of business, but she shared with me the same stories, that not just their staff, but also their customers were afraid to be downtown. My employees, like a lot of the other businesses have shared, are young people, it's college students, and I couldn't let them walk to their car alone. They had to be accompanied in downtown Warrensburg. So, you know, I just like to throw my stories in with all the others, that we have a serious problem. I also serve on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, and we've had conversations about this situation before, and we've been reminded that a lot of these people do have mental health issues and that this is a complicated issue. So I appreciate that, but my request to you is to help us find solutions to this and allow us to be a part of that, whatever that is, as a community, to resolving it. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Okay, just any council member comments or?
I've met with quite a few of you about this issue, and I do want to hear your concerns. Also, I would like to hear some of the solutions, be part of, you know, helping you develop some of the solutions. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to try to attend that meeting if I can on Monday. But also, if you guys ever want to set up a time to talk to me, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to listen to you and brainstorm with you and help you come up with ideas and something that we can work together on to improve the situation.
So kind of as a wraparound, because I've been thinking about this and a bit, I will take ownership to, since this is just come and visit with council and we're listening, to reach out to each of the council members individually after we get a chance to discuss what we heard tonight. I will share with the community, I had an opportunity to visit with the mayor of Sedalia yesterday. We took some time yesterday afternoon, just for trying to talk to a peer about just grappling with the situation. I also have an appointment with Ministerial Alliance this Thursday. I'm going to go to lunch and talk to them about, you know, potentials, because this is just my opinion at this point, not representing council as a whole, is it is a complex issue, and the city by itself won't specifically solve it. I know that I requested staff to send me the current ordinances on loitering and et cetera. And at least for me, I will acknowledge, I do think we have a problem, and I do think that it's in the library, in the Parks Department, downtown. And so I don't have a specific solution at this point, but we'll digest it. We'll talk about it, visit with staff, and then try to figure out a way to bring, you know, some energy. And that's, so I promise to work. I just don't have I do not have an answer myself at this point. So anything else? Okay. My hand goes to sleep holding this. I need to use the device as it's supposed to. Okay. Appearances of council. All right. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Anything? Okay.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming in attendance tonight. This is the largest crowd I've seen, so I'd like to see that continue. So, yeah.
We don't have any mayoral appointments. Director of Finance report, Marcella.
So you've got information on first quarter and that the sales tax numbers and the revenue that comes in the first quarter is more so than it is maybe the rest of the year because of property taxes, et cetera. We did receive the January sales taxes last week. They kind of took a pause. So we had seen a pretty significant increase or some upward swing in sales taxes through December. January, they just leveled off and were pretty consistent to what they were this time last year. So hopefully we start to see that trend going back up again, but if not, we'll just monitor that as we go forward and talk about budgets more like we already did this evening as first reading on the budget. Questions?
City manager report.
First of all, just want to say welcome to our new fire chief, Ken Jennings. This is his first meeting in this capacity. And also interim police chief, Andy Munsterman. So while I know that they are not necessarily new faces around City Hall, they are serving in this new capacity. So welcome. And I know that they are both primed and ready to share a council report with you all this evening. I did want to, I put this in an email to you all last week, but I wanted to show a few pictures and talk a little bit about some of the things that we deal with in our wastewater sewer system. This is one of the not necessarily glorious things that we get to work with at City. We love talking about trying to build a new bridge over McGuire, but as you know, sometimes we have to get a little dirty. So previously, earlier this year or early last year, we talked about our fog ordinances and our fog program. So fats, oils, and grease that get into our sewer system. This was actually a grease interceptor here in town. So this is the first cell of the grease interceptor. So grease interceptors are typically 3 cells. And the idea is that when grease, fats, oils get washed down the drain, that the grease separates from the water and gets stuck in the cell, and then only the water is what gets put into the sewer system. So this is the first cell of that. And then Gary, if you will flip to the 3rd cell. So this is the 3rd cell. This is what it's supposed to look like when it has been cleaned and when it is operating correctly. What happened was there's another picture of the manhole. Show you that. So this is the picture of the manhole outside of this restaurant. And what happened was this manhole got backed up, full of grease, backed up 2 properties, homes, residential homes. So had a bunch of grease and sewer in their homes. And so just trying to share it with you all, we have this fats, oil, and grease problem. Just to remind everyone not to put your fat, oils, and grease down the drain, especially when the water is cold. When the water's cold, the temperatures are cold, the ground is cold. Once it gets in there, it solidifies and backs up. So we were thankful we were able to get this particular restaurant up and running. They were actually doing their cleanings as they were supposed to. They had the documentation. The person who had been doing it was not doing it correctly. So, as we talk about revamping our fog program and as we're trying to get that educational materials out there, this was just a really good opportunity to show you all why that is important and why it matters. So thank you for the opportunity to show you some unlovely stuff this evening, but it is important stuff. So does anyone have any questions about this? I'm going to turn it over to Chief Jennings to talk about some other stuff for you.
Good evening, happy to be here. It was a busy first week. I've got under my belt so far. Look forward to many more. As I mentioned in the report to the city manager, just a quick number. Emergency responses or calls for service in 21, we were at 1,246, which was up from 2020. In 2020, we changed our response a little bit in response to the pandemic at the very beginning of it. We have resumed back to our normal responses. So we did see that number go up a little bit more. Working on a more in-depth report to showcase everything that the department has done over the last year. I'll get that to you hopefully here of the next council meeting. So we're just finalizing some data there. We had 4 new employees that we recently put on. They'll start our academy process. So we revamped what we call our academy last year. So it's about 60 hours of just real in-depth focused training for our new employees to get them oriented to our department, our operation. So we're excited to get them going. Our training focus, we're fortunate to have a very young department as far as their experience in the fire service, but it also translates into a lot of work and into what we're teaching them and getting them prepared to be on the street. So that continues to be a lot of our big focus on training is working through basic firefighter skills and then making sure they're prepared to do their job as best as they can. We're also spending a lot of time training our newer staff for apparatus operation. So that's a very important, very skilled job that takes some time. We're catching up some of our gaps on that staff training. Also tomorrow, we'll start an instructor 2 course, which is a certification course for personnel. We had some outside agencies that were participating that they're no longer participating just because they ran into some of this uptick in the COVID stuff in their own departments, so they're unable to come. But the certification training that we're able to put on within our department, it's our staff state certification levels, and we don't have to send them off. They put the lodging, their time away from home, that kind of stuff makes it a lot more convenient for them. Another benefit that we have with the training and education of our staff here, be able to go those types of courses. We did an officer 1 course in December and had 4 of our staff go through that. We're kicking off looking at 2020 and setting those big goals. I've been working with staff, my command staff this last week, set some goals and where we're headed for the rest of this year and then work a few more years out from that. So, any questions?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for stepping up, serve it.
Name's Andy Munsterman. I think we've all met before, but just want to tell everyone that came last Friday, thank you, and whether you could or couldn't make it Friday for Chief Lockhart's going away. Appreciate it. I know he deeply appreciated it. I did not get anything prepared for tonight. However, I want to start by saying we hired in Emma Crosby today. She's coming to us from Liberty, Missouri. She's going to be a new SRO. She has 7 years experience with Liberty, so that's looks like on the upside for us. Also, we hired in Brittany Williams. She started today as well. We swore them both in. It was about 10 o'clock, I think, this morning. So they started today around 10. Brittany Williams has 3 years on. She started in Columbia, Missouri as an officer, and then she went to Jackson County. Then due to some unforeseen issues, she got out of law enforcement, went to probation and parole, and now she's getting back into law enforcement. So that's exciting news for Warrensburg, for Warrensburg Police Department. That's where we're starting on some of our hiring, and we're kicking around some other ideas for recruiting. I met with my command staff today, and got one of our commanders, and he's putting together a team. We're going to go out to other law enforcement academies, and they're going to go and try and recruit other law enforcement officers to come here besides just this academy here. So they're targeting approximately 3 or 4 other academies that are Columbia to up in Kansas City. There's one up there, there's one in Cass County. See if anybody's not hired, see if we can get some more people in the door. So that's some of our start on some of our hiring problem solving. So see if we can get anything done with that. We got our 2 new Durangos in that we just purchased. They came in last Wednesday. I went and picked them up from St. Louis. They went off for striping today to get the striping package put on. They will be back probably in 2 or 3 weeks. We have scheduled, might have scheduled out an appointment for them to be upfitted approximately February. That's the earliest we can get them done because the equipment's so far out. So they'll be completed, and at that time, we're getting ready to start a sergeant process. Next, they'll be on the 20th as the sergeant process date. So we got three openings for sergeant positions, and we have 4 applicants at this time. So we'll get that completed, and I'm gonna follow up with the corporal process shortly after that. Plan on trying to have it completed middle of February for the corporal process. Other than that, that's what's going on in the Warrensburg Police Department. So any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Always appreciate it when staff gives us a little more depth that we can share. So appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go into I'm sorry.
Staff's ready this evening, Mayor. Marcy has an issue. and-
My apology. Go ahead.
Me and my command staff.
Yeah.
Working, and on your seat, you had a little packet that had some promotional material we've done this year. We've got several pieces in the works, and we hope to get them in distribution. Our busy time is March through October, so we'll have those pieces in stock, in the holders, and ready to go this March when we have our visitors come in. I hope you all have had a chance to check out the Visit Warrensburg social media, it's Facebook and Instagram. When the board met in August, we really focused on our mission being storytellers. We tell the story of our area to create experiences for those visitors coming in. That's what we've been doing, really focusing on our platforms, is telling the stories of some of our residents that work really hard in our community to bring the soul to it. We're a small town, but we've got a mighty big soul, and we're focusing on those individuals. So please take a moment, check out our Facebook, our Instagram, read some of those stories. We have amazing people in our community to make Warrensburg what it is, and we love to tell their stories. So we have a few more coming up, and then we'll wrap it up for this winter, and then we'll start something again next spring. But it's really been good for my soul and my command staff soul to read all the positivity on social media and the shout outs and the kudos. So please check it out.
So is the drone pilot on your command staff or not? Anybody else, Danielle?
I think Greg, Human Resources Director Greg McCullough has something he would like to share as well.
Mayor and members of the city council, thank you very much. I'd like to basically, as you remember, about 3 or 4 months ago, we did kind of a walkthrough with the department heads in terms of what all happens in our different areas. And as you will remember, one of the things that happens this time of year, in addition to all the hiring and things that we've been able to do here recently, you've got a report in there of the different positions that we continue to recruit for. But one of the other things is the busy time of year for human resources right at the beginning of the year, where we just finished with open enrollment. So we did an automated open enrollment this year, and we're working with the ease platform to upload those benefits into our Encode system. But as you well know, thankful for your continued support. All the department heads also helped by getting us information so that we could enter wage increases this week, because the first payroll of the year is always probably the most busy payroll that we have. And so this week has been really busy, and I'd like to just extend some thanks to not only Kathy Henson, who is Human Resources Assistant, but also to the department heads for getting their information in, and also finance. Marcella and Rachel and Tony have not only helped us by checking a lot of the entry that we've done, but also checked a lot of the reports to make sure that benefits were uploading the way they needed to, so that the payroll processes effectively this week. But we also want to, again, continue to thank you for your support in allowing us to be able to do this.
Anybody else?
Well, I was going to try to promote Restaurant Week coming up in February, but I'm going to wait till those pictures of fats, oil, and grease have left your memory banks a little bit. And so I'll talk about that in 2 weeks.
Anything else? Okay. We're going to have a closed session tonight. If I get somebody to read that.
I got it. Vote to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri relating to 1, legal actions, causes of action or litigation involving public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. 2, leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate by a public governmental body where public knowledge of the transaction might adversely affect the legal consideration.
That meeting's adjourned.
Got to vote.
Sorry.
Move to closed session.
He just
Okay.
read it. She's gonna vote.
Okay. Kushner.
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Holmberg.
Yes. All right. Practice adjournment over, real adjournment.